Hello friends, welcome back to your channel. What if I told you that some of the most dangerous ethical hacking tools in 2026 aren't Metasploit, Nmap, Burp Suite or even AirCrackNG? Everyone knows those. But while most people are still using the same toolset they learned 2 or 3 years ago, a new wave of tools is quietly changing how reconnaissance, AI-assisted pen testing, vulnerability discovery, and attack surface mapping are being done. And the scary part, most ethical hackers haven't even heard of them yet. So in this video, we're going to look at 10 powerful Kali Linux tools that are relatively new, seriously underrated, and have the potential to save hours of work. Some of these tools feel like cheating. Let's get into it. This video is strictly for educational and authorized security testing purposes only. Never test systems without permission. Also, this video is not sponsored by any company or developer. If a tool is amazing, we'll say it's amazing. If a tool has flaws, we'll mention those too. So Kali Linux 2026.1 dropped in March. And honestly, this release was different. It wasn't just a theme refresh and a kernel bump. The Kali team added 8 brand new tools to the official repository. And when I went through them one by one, I kept thinking these aren't random additions. These are tools built for the way modern penetration testing actually works in 2026. Not the CTF textbook version, the real version. The one where web apps, hub WAFs, WordPress installations are everywhere, wireless networks are still laughably vulnerable, and red teams need to simulate real adversary behavior, not just run Metasploit like it's 2012. So what I've done is take those 8 official tools, add 2 more that have been flying under the radar but absolutely deserve a spot on this list, and give you a proper breakdown. What each one does, why it matters, and in some cases, where you'd actually use it on a real engagement. Let's get into it. Tool 1, Fluxion. Let's start with the one that is going to immediately get the attention of every wireless security person watching, Fluxion. And yes, it's now officially in the Kali 2026.1 repository, which means no more manual installation, no more dependency headaches, just sudo apt install Fluxion and you're in business. So what is Fluxion? In simple terms, it's a Wi-Fi security auditing and social engineering research tool, but that description doesn't do it justice. Here's what it actually does. Fluxion targets WPA, WPA2 protected wireless networks, and instead of just hammering the handshake with a word list like the old aircrack approach, which, let's be honest, fails 90% of the time, unless the password is literally password 123. Fluxion takes a smarter, more psychological route. It creates a rogue access point that mimics the target network perfectly. Same SSID, same security settings, everything. Then it kicks connected devices off the real network and waits. When the user tries to reconnect and gets a captive portal asking them to re-enter their Wi-Fi password for a firmware update and they type it in, Fluxion captures it and validates it against the real handshake in real time. Now think about that. You're not cracking anything. You're letting the human do the work. And that right there is why this tool matters. Because it reflects something critically important in modern ethical hacking. The weakest point in any network is almost never the technology. It's the person clicking OK without reading the screen. Used in legitimate wireless audits with proper scope and written authorization, Fluxion is an incredibly powerful demonstration of why user awareness training is not optional. Tool 2, Adaptix 2. Alright, now we are stepping into red team territory. If you've ever done or studied adversary emulation, the practice of simulating how a real threat actor would behave inside a network, then you know that the framework you operate from matters enormously. Adaptix C2 is that framework, and it just landed in Kali 2026.1. C2 stands for Command and Control. When a red team gains initial access to a system, they don't just sit at a terminal running commands manually. They establish a persistent communication channel, AC2, through which they control compromised machines, move laterally through the network, exfiltrate data, and escalate privileges, all while trying to stay undetected. Adaptix C2 is designed to do exactly that, but in a structured, extensible, professional way. What makes it stand out is the extensibility. You can build custom scripts, custom agents, custom communication profiles around it. This is not a script kiddie tool. This is what a structured red team uses when a company has hired them to simulate a nation state level attack to test whether their SOC, their security operations center, can actually detect and respond to it. Think about a bank hiring a red team and saying, pretend you are APT29. Get in, reach our core banking system, and don't get caught. That's the kind of engagement where Adaptix C2 shows up. It's methodical, it's professional, and its arrival in Kali's official repos is a direct signal of how far ethical hacking has matured as a discipline. Okay, this one genuinely made me pause when I saw it. Metasploit MCP. Let me explain why this is a bigger deal than it sounds. Most of you know Metasploit, the legendary exploitation framework that has been a staple of penetration testing for almost 2 decades. But here's the thing, Metasploit is powerful and it's also complex. Finding the right module, configuring the right payload, chaining things together, it takes experience. Metasploit MCP is an MCP server that stands for Model Context Protocol that essentially creates a bridge between AI systems and the Metasploit framework. In plain language, this lets AI agents interact directly with Metasploit. You can query modules, generate attack chains, get suggestions on exploitation paths, all through an AI assisted interface. This is the first time we're genuinely seeing AI woven directly into the penetration testing workflow at this level inside an official Kali tool. Not a third party plugin, not a demo project, an officially shipped tool in the Kali 2026.1 repos. Now, is this a good thing? That's a conversation the security community is actively having, and it's a valid one. But from a pure capability standpoint, for an ethical hacker running complex engagements, the ability to have an AI assist with Metasploit module selection and attack chain logic in real time is genuinely useful and kind of scary in the best possible way. Tool 4, XSS Strike, Web Application Penetration Testing. And if you want to be relevant in ethical hacking in 2026, you better know web apps because that is where the majority of real world vulnerabilities live. Now, XSS, cross-site scripting, is one of the most common and most misunderstood web vulnerabilities out there. The thing most people don't know is that finding XSS isn't as simple. Modern web apps have WAFs, web application firewalls, that filter and block standard XSS payloads. Most scanners get blocked immediately. XSS Strike is different. This is an advanced XSS scanner that was built specifically with WAF bypass in mind. It does multi-vector analysis, meaning it tests dozens of different injection contexts, not just input fields. It understands how the application reflects input, what filtering it applies, and then intelligently generates payloads that have the highest probability of bypassing those filters. It also does contextual analysis, meaning it reads where in the HTML the reflection occurs, inside a tag attribute, inside a script block, inside a JavaScript string, and crafts its payload accordingly. That level of context awareness is what separates this from a basic scanner. For anyone doing bug bounty hunting or web application security assessments, XSS Strike in your toolkit is not optional anymore. It's essential. Tool 5, SSTIMAP. Alright, this next one, I need you to stop and really pay attention because this vulnerability class is one that a lot of hackers, even experienced ones, consistently underestimate. Server-side template injection, SSTI, and SSTIMAP is the tool that finds it and exploits it automatically. Here's the quick explanation. Modern web applications use template engines, Jinja2, Twig, FreeMarker, Velocity to dynamically generate HTML. When a developer improperly handles user input inside a template, an attacker can inject template expressions directly into the server-side rendering engine. And unlike reflected XSS, where you're messing with what appears in a browser, SSTI runs on the server, which means it can and very frequently does lead directly to remote code execution full cell on the server. SSTIMAP automates this entire process. It handles payload generation, template engine, fingerprinting. It figures out which engine is being used and walks through execution paths automatically. You point it at a potentially vulnerable parameter and it does the heavy lifting. The reason this matters is that SSTI vulnerabilities are frequently overlooked during assessments. They don't look dangerous on the surface. A developer sees a parameter being rendered in a template and doesn't immediately think that's an RCE waiting to happen, but it is. And SSTIMAP is what an ethical hacker uses to prove it. Tool 6, WP Probe WordPress. I know. You're thinking WordPress again, but here's the thing. WordPress powers over 40% of all websites on the internet. 40%.
So yeah, if you're doing web application security testing, you are going to encounter WordPress a lot. And WP Probe is what you use to do reconnaissance on it. WP Probe is a fast WordPress plugin enumeration tool. Its whole job is to identify what plugins are installed on a WordPress site, including plugins that aren't publicly listed or visible in the source code. Because here's the real danger with WordPress. It's not usually the core installation that gets compromised. It's the plugin. Outdated, abandoned, poorly coded plugins with known CVs that nobody patched. WP Probe identifies what's there, and from that list, you can cross-reference against known vulnerability databases and find your way in. During a legitimate web app pen test on a client's WordPress installation, This tool compresses what used to be a 20-minute manual reconnaissance task into something that completes in seconds. It's not glamorous, it doesn't have a dramatic interface, but it is exactly the kind of precision tool that makes assessment faster, cleaner, and more thorough. Tool 7, Atomic Operator. Here's a question that every security team should be asking themselves. If an attacker tried to dump credentials from memory on our Windows machines right now, would our detection systems catch it? Most teams genuinely don't know the answer. Atomic Operator is how you find out. Atomic Red Team is a library of small focused tests called atomics, each one mapped to a specific technique in the MITRE AT&CK framework, which is the industry standard catalog of real-world adversary behaviors. Atomic Operator is a tool that executes these tests across multiple operating systems, Windows, Linux, macOS, in a controlled, repeatable way. What this means in practice is a red team or even an internal security team can systematically run a simulated credential dumping attack, a simulated lateral movement technique, a simulated persistence mechanism, and immediately see whether they're seeing fires, whether their EDR catches it, whether any alert is generated at all. This is what's called purple teaming. Offensive techniques used to validate defensive coverage, and it's becoming one of the most valuable things a security team can do because there's nothing more uncomfortable than a real attacker finding the gaps in your detection logic before you do. Too late, GEF, GDB, enhanced features. Now we're going into territory that most casual users skip past. But if you have any interest in exploit development, binary analysis, or reverse engineering, this tool is going to make your life significantly better. GEF, which stands for GDB Enhanced Features, is a plugin that supercharges GDB, the GNU debugger. If you've ever opened GDB and thought this interface looks like it was designed in 1992, you're not wrong. GDB is powerful but visually brutal. GEF transforms that experience completely. You get a modern color-coded interface with automatic context display, registers, stack, memory instructions, all laid out clearly every time execution pauses. It adds smart heap analysis, format string vulnerability, detection helpers, stack visualization, and a bunch of commands that make working with binaries dramatically less painful. For anyone doing CTF challenges, analyzing malware samples in a safe lab environment, or learning binary exploitation, GEF is the difference between spending 3 hours confused and actually making progress. This is the kind of tool that doesn't get flashy YouTube thumbnails, but experienced practitioners quietly install it on every machine without thinking twice. Tool 9, Pentest Copilot. Stepping slightly outside the official Kali 2026.1 list for this one and the next because these genuinely deserve to be on this list. Pentest Copilot is an AI-powered penetration testing assistant that has been making serious waves in the ethical hacking community this year. Think of it as an AI copilot that sits alongside your actual penetration testing workflow. You describe what you're testing, a web application, a network segment, an API endpoint, and it helps you map out attack surfaces, suggest methodology, generate relevant commands, interpret, scan, output, and plan your next move. It's not replacing the hacker, it's compressing the thinking time. The real value shows up during complex multi-stage assessments. When you've got 47 open ports, 3 different web applications, a VPN endpoint, and you need to prioritize where to focus first, having an AI that understands the MITRE ATT&CK framework and can reason about likely attack paths is genuinely useful. It doesn't replace experience. Experience is still what you need to know if the AI suggestion makes sense in context, but it's a powerful force multiplier. And yes, this is exactly the kind of tool that is going to reshape what junior penetration testers are capable of in the next 2 years. Whether that's exciting or slightly concerning probably depends on which side of the engagement you're on. Tool 10, BetterLeaks Secret Scanner. Last one. And I saved this one for last because genuinely the vulnerability it targets is responsible for some of the most embarrassing and costly breaches in recent memory. BetterLeaks is a secret scanner and it is built specifically to address the gaps that other secret scanners miss. Here's the problem in simple terms. Developers accidentally commit sensitive information, API keys, database credentials, OAuth tokens, private keys into source code repositories, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. This happens constantly. There are automated bots scanning public repositories right now at this very second looking for these exact things. And when they find them, and they do find them, the consequences can be severe. BetterLeaks is the ethical hacker's answer. It scans repositories, code bases, and even deployed web applications for exposed secrets using detection logic that's specifically designed to catch the patterns that other tools like Trufflehog or GitLeaks miss. It's faster, it's smarter about reducing false positives, and it covers a broader range of secret types. On a real penetration test, finding a valid AWS key or a live database connection string in a public repo is game over, full stop. The assessment is effectively done, and BetterLeaks is what helps you find that in the reconnaissance phase before you've even touched the target directly. This is where ethical hacking is heading in 2026. Not more brute force, not more noise, smarter, faster, more targeted work backed by better tools. If you're serious about this field, pick 2 or 3 tools from this list and actually install them. Play with them in a lab environment, read the documentation. Because watching a video about hacking tools and actually understanding what they do are 2 completely different things, and you already know which one actually moves you forward. If this video was useful, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and drop in the comments which tool surprised you the most. I genuinely read those. See you in the next one. Thank you.